following what happened last night, a night of fast-moving developments in the attacks in Saskatchewan. RCMP admit they may never find all the answers now that Myles Sanderson is dead.
Now that Myles is deceased, we may never have an understanding of that motivation. And we've conducted 120 interviews to this point. There's more that we have to do, but witnesses and people around him only have so much information. His motivation may at this time and forever only be known to Myles.
This is a look at how the 4-day search ended for the man wanted in one of the deadliest mass killings in this country on a highway near Rostern, Saskatchewan. That's about an hour's drive south of James Smith Cree Nation and the village of Weldon, where the attacks happened on Sunday. RCMP say Sanderson went into medical distress after his arrest and died last night in hospital in police custody. Sam Sampson is back with us on the story, and she's once more in our Regina bureau. It was, as I said, Sam, a night of very fast-moving developments. As we begin our coverage from Saskatchewan this morning, where do things stand this morning? What do we know about the arrest and Myles Sanderson's subsequent death in custody?
Well, I want to start at the beginning of yesterday, as it was really quickly paced. So around just before 3 o'clock here in Saskatchewan, we all received an emergency alert on our cell phones saying that there was a person who may be armed with a knife traveling around in a white truck, and that may be connected to the September 4th stabbings in James Smith Cree Nation and in Weldon. We know now that Myles Sanderson had stolen a pickup truck from a home nearby the community of Wakaw and was driving around with it. So police say after that emergency alert went out, they received about 20 calls from the public about that white pickup truck, and an RCMP officer near Rostern, Saskatchewan, also saw that. So they started the chase, and RCMP say they directed the vehicle into a nearby ditch, and you could see from some footage what that looks like. The vehicle is in the ditch along with some other RCMP cars. So after that, he was arrested. Police say after he was arrested, shortly after, he went into medical distress and he was pronounced dead at a hospital in Saskatoon. We don't know any other details about this. RCMP are not releasing anything else about his death and the circumstances around that. RCMP are saying how much police work into this now and how much more is to come.
We have already conducted over 150 interviews with witnesses and victims, with more anticipated to take place in the coming days. And this is not the end of our work. We do not stop here. The Saskatchewan RCMP continues to investigate this tragedy, and a police presence will continue in James Smith Cree Nation and the Weldon communities for the next while.
Now, while RCMP are going to continue their investigation, they will also be investigated. RCMP have asked Saskatoon Police and the Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team to conduct an independent investigation around Myles Sanderson's death because he did die in police custody. Also, the RCMP has asked the Ministry of Justice in Saskatchewan to set up an independent investigation observer, which is required under Saskatchewan legislation. Now, one thing to note also from the press conference with RCMP last night is that Sanderson was alone when he was arrested by RCMP, but it's not clear if he was alone the entire time he was on the run. At one point, Regina police received tips that he was driving, or rather 2 people were driving in another vehicle that was suspected to be involved in the city of Regina. So another question is, was he being helped? That's part of the RCMP investigation to come.
Sam, there will be very difficult days ahead for the families and for the people in the communities of James Smith Cree Nation and of Weldon. I know you were at a vigil last night in Regina and heard a key message about the healing process. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And let's remind ourselves, what we're talking about is there were 10 people who were killed and at least 18 people injured in this stabbing rampage. Most of the people affected on James Smith Cree Nation. So the First Nations University of Canada held vigils at all 3 of their campuses in Saskatchewan last night. This was planned before Myles Sanderson was arrested. It's because they're focusing on the people affected by the violence. And one of the messages that came out last night was this feeling of community and how important it was for everybody affected, not even just if you knew someone in James Smith Cree Nation, which a lot of people do here in Saskatchewan, tightly knit communities, but also just First Nations communities as a whole. It's time to come together with First Nations and allies. Take a listen.
I think today and tonight has been like a start to a healing process. It's been a lot of information that has come out for Saskatchewan lately. So I think today is the start of that healing process, and then having events like these where the community is able to come together and talk about these issues and pray together. I think it just brings a big feeling of gratefulness, just to see the community that I come from here in Regina and Treaty 4.
So later today, the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, which is a group an organization that represents 74 First Nations in Saskatchewan, they will be holding a media conference in James Smith Cree Nation. This is significant. This is the first time the community is opening up since the stabbings on September 4th. We're going to bring you the latest as it comes in. Heather?
Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate that. Sam Sampson from our bureau in Regina.